Boo. I bet you guys didn't expect me again. It's the second upload of the month with your bimbo godmother, Foxy Box or Kelsey Pennywinkle. If you know me as a civ, if you've been sticking around here, you know what that means. A civ, civilian, regular person that does not make porn for a living. And hey, I'm a femlin always, and especially today, because we're going to be talking Playboy. And I know that you all love the topic of Playboy, and it is your very, very favorite here on Bimbo Box. I see you. You keep it a steady with the downloads on the Playboy episodes every week. So we're going to be talking with another uh, Playboy historian. I don't want to say amateur because I don't think there's anything amateur about being a Playboy historian. I think it's kind of a controversial thing to be a historian of. There's not a whole lot of people that are really digging deep into it. It's really oddly enough, the Playboy community is pretty small. So, there's a lot of run in there. So, before we get started and I introduce you to my friend that's here to talk, I just wanted to talk about another little indie art thing going on here called Narnar. Narnar sent me a package and I got my Narnar magazine. Here is this bad boy right here. It's pretty dope. This man with a mysterious man with a cat mask, cat's pajamas. Scan that if you're curious. He said, "Hey, Foxy Box, thanks for being the first person in your area to purchase these gnarly exclusives. You earned bragging rights. So brag to everybody. Nar nar." So I'm pretty excited about this magazine. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I think if we're on the topic of talking Playboy magazine today in the spirit, I would unbox this fucking sweet Nar Nar magazine. We love supporting art. Oh, and I got a sticker, and my laptop that I use to do Bimbo Box has all of my favorite people stickers on it. This is just a sweet little zine made by a pretty gnarly cat. So if you're curious, I don't want to give away the surprise, but you should definitely check out some Narnar magazine. So, without any further ado, I'm going to bring my dear friend Brittney. Brittney from the Pink Group. The beef continues. So, welcome to the stage, Brittney from the Pink Group.
Hello, hello.
Oh, hey, beef in the
Hi.
streets, gang. How's it going?
I can't complain. And yourself?
Pretty good. I am excited. I am chaotic. I accidentally thought that our time zones were a different amount apart, so I thought I was late for our podcast, which then made us actually late. So we're getting a
Hey,
little
we're here
late
now.
start, but
No
it's gonna be
worries.
fun. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. So, Brittany, why don't you tell me about yourself and your involvement with this here Playboy thing?
I've always been a fan. I am one of those girls that also found my dad's Playboys and thought the
Oh,
women were beautiful. Um, I was a fan of Playboy before the Girls Next Door came out. But that, of course, stoked my love for it. My friend used to have a magazine subscription, and it would every month we would wait for it to come in, find the bunny, take turns reading the articles and all the fun stuff. And I had some of my dad's, but I really started collecting them in the early 2000s. Um, and I just really think they're art. I'm attracted to the magazine because of the photography and the graphic design. Because I am an artist. I went to college for a Bachelor of Fine Arts with a concentration in photography. So I have a really huge a really huge love of the photography, and I think women are beautiful, and I think that it was always empowering to me to see beautiful women in the magazine done beautifully and photographed well.
yes, I love that so much, and I think that that's a very similar reason to why I like Playboy so much is the rich artistry that goes along with the rich history for me that's rooted in like feminism, which is also specifically rooted into like sex work. And those are things that I'm very, very passionate about. I love Playboy. I love the history. I love to talk about it. And so us being able to have a conversation as people that really do see the just the complexity as a whole with every single bit and piece of what Playboy is, what it stands for, and what it contains. It's so much. And I love that you guys had like a tradition as like girls growing up of like finding the bunny and stuff like that. Like I wish I had that kind of like a long like love for it. Like I love that.
Oh yeah, it was actually the guy. It was a mix of guys and girls.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
So every month you guys got together for it.
Yeah.
That's like something out of like a movie.
Yeah, and we all, guys, I mean, and girls watch the show together.
The Girls Next Door?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A bunch of himbos. I love.
Yes.
Yes. So I obviously like I always like growing up I just wanted to be like a bimbo or just like a bad girl or like a slut. Like that's always what I wanted to be. It's just what I aspired. And so for me it was just like what Playboy stood for was just like being free, being like your sexual liberated self. I was just always that way. So that's what it was to me. I didn't get into the magazines or anything. Nobody around me consumed Playboy. I would obviously sneak wear like the pendants and stuff, but I didn't even like watch the show when I was younger. I visited it in college and got into it when I was revisiting like Rock of Love and the Of Love series and all of the VH1 stuff. And then I was like, maybe I should check out this girl. And I was like, oh my God, I love all of this so much. And I was just infatuated with like Hugh Hefner as like a person. And I'm like, this is an artist. This is a revolutionary. I saw him as a very neurodivergent person, just right off the bat. Like he's an old curmudgeon, but he's so particular and just like he's meticulous about everything he does with purpose. And I think that as like a human being, he was just so complex. And so it was just everything that Playboy was, the history of building it and the activism behind it and the inclusion of African Americans during these times where there was segregation and Playboy After Dark and wow, gosh, what else? Just women being able to like claim their bodies, the Playboy bunnies in the clubs, which we talked about on previous episodes. The whole entire message of it was always so moving to me after I discovered, it's funny enough, The Girls Next Door, which I have really grown to just not care so much for the people that I admired through that show, and more about just the historical and the movement. So it's just so interesting when these worlds meet. You grew up with this being such like, you appreciated it from a young age, and whereas it's like I've watched like the buzz like kick back up and with people similarly to me that in the past 10 years rediscovered or watched these things for the first time. But me being older, it's like I understand the complex nature. And I think that's what we run into a lot with the discourse about Playboy is generational differences.
I completely agree with that. I had no idea until they started the podcast, and then I joined all of the fan groups that I had no idea that so many young girls like 10, 11, and 12 were watching the show. I'm not even sure I would have been allowed to watch that at that age. But maybe, I don't know. But it was just mind-boggling to me. I had no idea that some of these girls really didn't know anything about Playboy other than the Girls Next Door, and that right now they're still so much younger than me and they watched it when they were young, and that's how they even know about Playboy. I found that very interesting.
Yes, it is very interesting because I knew of Playboy more. I knew the Seven. that was what I grew up seeing, was because I was an MTV VH1 girl. I've always been really into music. So I wasn't watching the E network. And I think that's also partially like, and so, I partially like, I missed it because I was living a bit of a rough life as a teenager, didn't have cable and things like that. I lived on my own.
I did
So
not have cable. I watched Girls Next Door. I had two friends that had cable,
uh,
so we would
yes.
watch it at their house.
Yes. Yes, I love it. Yeah, no, me and my friends were like playing like, Edward 40 hands, like drinking cheap malt liquor like in an alley. Like so
Nice.
it's just, but like on my time when I was watching TV, it was definitely like MTV, watching like the music stuff. But so I had seen like on like, just MTV stuff, Hugh Hefner and the Seven Girlfriends. So, and I always really liked Tina, and I always really liked Buffy. I feel like Buffy embodied what Playboy was and is. She is the only one, in my opinion, out of the girlfriends that was actually like Playboy. Um, and that might be a controversial take, but all of the girlfriends were kind of people that obviously wouldn't have been like Playmate of the Year, or things, the cover. You know what I mean? Like, it just,
Right.
why don't I think that? Because I think that Hugh Hefner liked to. I think that as a human, he liked things with slight imperfections, maybe so that he could be more nitpicky. Maybe he liked to kind of, because listen, yes, I am pro Hugh Hefner, but I understand the complicated nature of being like a human, and he was not perfect. I don't like perfect people. Perfect people have shit that they're hiding,
Right.
and I feel like he had shitty people around him, which is a symptom of being a rich white man. Like,
Yes.
shitty people. But yeah, so I think that maybe he liked to not have, like, because it's like, look at like Marilyn Monroe, and I think you had mentioned wanting to talk on Marilyn Monroe. Maybe we could talk on it for a second while this is coming up, because my take on it kind of goes with, he wanted people with slight imperfections around him because he could offer things like cosmetic surgery, or like things to like improve yourself, and like have that like kind of need for like that I made you or something like that.
A little bit of a controlling mechanism.
Certainly so. I'm sure that it was something like that. Maybe it wasn't so dark and sinister, but it does seem like a lot of them had like slight, just they weren't exact what he would choose for Playboy. And so it's like, oh,
Right.
well, you could come over here and be my girlfriend.
Right.
So anyway, the Marilyn Monroe thing, I think that that's maybe why, why he never met her, possibly,
Well, that
because
was my one note I made on it. Is it was just mind boggling. Why did he never meet her? He should have.
well, they say
He could have.
you don't want to
Oh,
meet your heroes, and
fair enough.
him being who I view and clock as a neurodivergent person, maybe he didn't want to actually have to conceptualize his idea of a perfect woman, because if you make it real, then it's real.
I don't actually have a theory on it. I'm just really curious.
If you really, if you think about it, that does somewhat, I feel like, make sense. Um,
Absolutely.
and also then maybe he has to face like his, I don't want to say like facing misogyny, because I feel like that's not exactly like clocking what it would be. Um, Maybe just face like his like
I paid
mortality.
$500 for your magazine or your pictures, and
But I
I
see,
think
and like,
the photography was fair game. It was for
I
sale.
and that's what I was gonna say. As a model, somebody gets paid for that. When I do something for like commercial shit, if I do, I know that that is free game. I'm signing that away. Marilyn Monroe,
Yeah.
did she ever vocalize anything against being in Playboy?
I mean, I don't. Everything I've ever heard is she never had a chance, but she knew that those photos did not belong to her. You
Yeah.
know.
So I just feel like it's sometimes, with a subject such as like the things that have happened in Hollywood and things like in general, that there's enough there that's like tangible that we see, that's actually a problem without having to like speculate problems. And I feel like that sensationalism is what's really fucked up this dynamic between people that are like pro Holly, which is so stupid. It's so vapid. Pro Holly and Bridget,
I'm
pro.
not pro anybody or anti anybody.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just like soaking it all in.
And that's what happens between the groups is people have, I think, just in general, when it comes to like takes on different subjects, you think that it has to be one way or the other. Somehow being able to like look at things from a full spectrum has been kind of demonized in a lot of ways. People say, oh, you don't want to play devil's advocate, but being an advocate of something, is being like mindful of things and like being able to like see the complexity of things. And when you like try to speak for like one thing, you're missing a lot of things here, that it's like, well, why is the heat on Playboy? And it's kind of anti-woman to be putting the heat on Hugh Hefner rather than all of these other things that were, like, why aren't we talking about the bigger picture here and demonizing what actually is part of women's history and women's liberation? So really, we're damaging women by doing this. And to me, I do respect Holly as a Playboy historian, but I think that she lets some of that BuzzFeed, like the buzzwords and the sensationalism and the noise, get in the way of like the history. And it does seem like lately, because I still listen to the podcast, it does seem like maybe she's starting to understand that this is kind of damaging to something that is like actually passionate for her. And you had mentioned a talking point that you had was that you feel that Holly and Hef, they should have been married, which I absolutely agree. Let's talk about that.
Well, so I wrote that down because I feel like had she been given the chance that she wanted to be first lady of the mansion, she would have taken it and run with it.
Yes, that's where she belonged.
And she loved Playboy, the brand. She loved working in the studio. She wanted to be in the magazine. And I mean, she loved Hef, no matter if it was in some sort of crazy situational way where she convinced herself to, but she was completely 100% committed. And I feel like she, after his passing, would have carried on his legacy in the way that it should have been.
In charge of the Playboy Foundation. She was scorned, though. He didn't give her what she deserved from him, and that's true. That's true. It's really true. But hey, guess what? Maybe Holly should look at it from the standpoint that he sees her as this actual
one that got away. I believe a couple of people mentioned and that he has said that, but you never know. A lot of the stuff he says, I feel, are just like generic. This is what the company wants. I love all my ex-girlfriends, and
also
I fell in love again 2 weeks later. I've never been more in love in my life.
Right. It almost goes hand in hand, though, with that conversation about Marilyn Monroe and maybe why he never met her. Holly became Hef's perfect woman. Did Hef ever want his perfect woman? No. That's his equal.
Right. And he is not down for that. He is not down for that.
I think that we just unlocked the whole entire thing right here. That I really think that we're on to something with this conversation, because I think that Holly didn't understand that depth of like, man, but it's like almost like a keep it simple kind of thing too. It's like she was, as it's like Hef saw that in, I would only say, other than Holly, what, Barbie Benton.
I think that he actually may have been the only time he experienced true love, because, well, from everything I've read, and I've read a lot of books and watched all the documentaries and stuff, but he was with her for many, many years. And I know that he still had relationships with other women, but they traveled the world together. She got him out and traveling the world.
He left the compound with her.
the one time in his life that he was really out living in the world was when he was with her, because other than that, you don't really see a whole lot of
Barbie Benton
or him traveling the world. It was like that was his one stint. And then when he got Playboy Mansion West, he kind of made his Shangri-La. And I'll leave if you guys really tell me I have to.
Yep. I think that and that's where I become kind of what people would say anti-Holly. I hate that because I'm not anti-Holly. I'm not anti-woman. I'm really not. And I understand the complexity, but that's where she kind of loses me, because I feel like she's not actually speaking her truth. She's speaking to that like hive mindset of like what she thinks people want to hear. And I think that it's almost like something that got ahead of itself. She kind of created a monster of it.
Well, and what people want to hear gains podcast listeners, buys books. And I actually just recently reordered her first book because I sold mine that I used to have from back in the day before I reread it. And I recently read The Vegas Diaries, which I can't remember if I had read it before, but it didn't really seem familiar when I read it. But I liked it. I thought it was interesting. It was fun to hear about her time in Vegas. I got a little bit sidetracked, but I enjoyed that book. And I'm going to read her first one again. And I think that any celebrity memoir, they always mostly paint themselves as the victim or the saint. And I feel like there's a lot of that in Crystal's book and Holly and
I didn't bother to read Crystal's book.
Oh, I pre-ordered and everything.
Yeah. Okay, so what I have read, and then I'm curious because you've read the stuff that I haven't yet. So I have read the Holly. Well, I've listened to the Holly's audibles of both books. The Vegas Diaries, I didn't listen to as well. I need to. I own them hard copies of both. My favorite book, I like Playground. Jennifer Signer's book, Playground.
I read that one back in the day, a long time ago. But I do believe there's a lot of inaccuracies in it. I'm not sure.
It's a good story.
But you can still, you have to have the ability to pick out what you believe the truths are.
I just look at it as stories, you know, like it's
not absolutely. It's not.
This isn't that they have the histories in the magazines. Like the books are fun, you know. So I love that one, and then I enjoyed Bunny Tales when you get past her kind of ranting about being self-important. I mean, no offense to Isabella. I think she's fucking fabulous.
I read that one back in the day too, and I think I sold it and rebought it again so I could read it, or maybe I reread it. Or skimmed through it. There's good parts.
It's good. You know whose book is the most solid?
You gotta say
I like
Zoe.
Kendra's book. I like Kendra's book.
I need to reread those.
The first one's really good.
Since they first came out.
I think hearing, because she just kind of was similar to me as a teenager, and just kind of hearing her story, and I kind of just really relate to her a lot. And it's funny. You want to know the funny thing is that I didn't like Kendra at first. My first go around on the show. She's such a pick-me. She's so annoying. Then I keep watching it, and I'm like, wait, she's young. She's fun. She's how I was when I was her age. She's fun. She's very of that time. You know, she's just a picture of what it was like to be a young person in the early 2000s. The heavy like rap culture, all of us were doing like the thizzle dance and the freaking, we were ghost riding the whip, and we were listening to Mac Dre, we were listening to 3-6 Mafia, and that was, we were all, it was very much part of like our culture, and it was across any type of like race kind of thing. It was just shared. And so it was much of like a cultural appreciation in a lot of ways that now, like in retrospect, people say that it was appropriation, but it was like it was just a part of how things were, and nobody was
Yeah,
upset about it. Like
exactly.
it was funny if you heard an old person say, for shizzle my nizzle, like, like
Right.
that was, it was just part of, so Kendra
It's
is like a
part of pop
picture.
culture.
Yeah, Kendra is a picture of like what it was like to be a young person back then. And I just think she's genuine, and she grew up on TV. Like, imagine being on TV from like what,
And then
19 to like,
continued with the reality shows.
yeah,
And
of
my
course she's
God, she
easy.
sold her soul to the tabloids.
Of course she's a freaking easy target. She put it all out there for people to freaking
Yeah.
target.
But I think
So,
so she does like get on my nerves in the show, but I do think an interesting element to her is that where she differs from Holly and Bridget is she came there when she was much younger, but also, Crystal claims she had never seen the show Girls Next Door and wasn't that into Playboy. Kendra really did not know that much about Playboy. She was
no,
like, okay, yeah, I'll move in.
I'm
Sure.
here. She's just
Yeah.
having a good time, and she was
She
never,
knew nothing about the
and
Playboy
she
world,
never,
Playboy history.
yeah, she was never there to like, she wasn't ever clout chasing or like doing it. She was just like, I ended up here and here I am, and she's
Yeah.
just being herself, and
Yeah.
she's
But
like,
I also love how much Holly and Bridget are into Playboy.
yes, but they're older and they've had time,
And they already know the ropes
well, and
of the mansion.
what really bothers me is people don't talk about the fact of how old Bridget was.
She's the
Bridget,
oldest.
she was in her 30s in that show. And
so, I mean, of course, Kendra would have gotten on my nerves too,
yeah,
even if she had not been the way that
they have almost an age gap.
At 30, somebody that was 18 would have gotten on my nerves no matter what.
Okay, I was a teen mom, and they have almost an age gap like I do with my son who just walked in here. I'm recording an episode of the podcast.
Well, I did Mom's trailer.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. You're amazing. I was just talking about you.
No, bug off.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So he's a teenager. He's almost an adult is the point. He is the same kind of age gap almost as Bridget and Kendra to me.
It's a huge age gap. Like, I've always liked older men, and I just turned 40, and I'm like, I'm married, but if I were to be single again, I think it would just now be okay to start talking to men my age.
Right.
And I'm actually the youngest of all my friends. My friends were in their 30s when I was 20, 21. Maybe somewhere like 28. So
yeah, it's just to me, and it's just people don't take into consideration that I just feel like I don't feel like it's fair how much they are like harsh on Kendra, or like I don't love the fact that they'll be like, like, oh, we were painted a certain way, but then it seems like most things were like an absolute with how Kendra was captured, or I just feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy, and it has really ruined. I loved Bridget so much. I was like, I want her to have a book. I want her to have a book. I want, or like, where's her stuff? Like, I never see anything with her because she was nowhere to be found when I first started like re-falling in love with the Girls Next Door. I bought the bobbleheads like before like the podcast started, and like, like I had gotten really into it in college, and then it was just like, it just seems not right, a lot of it, and it seems just very unfair, or like catty or mean girl kind of behavior, which, like, cool, be a mean girl. I can be a mean girl. We can all be mean girls. Like, I am not.
Okay, so my counterpoint to that is Kendra's a mean girl too. People forget how much Kendra badmouthed both of them in the public forever. So I feel like they're finally getting their justice on the podcast to vent and get it out.
But what I don't like about
is it nice? No. But
what I don't like is that they're making themselves seem disingenuous. Like, I don't like that they are sounding like they they are hypocritical a lot, and it's ruined my appreciation for what they have accomplished. So in a way, I feel like they're tarnishing their own like history in this.
They did stoop to that level, but I mean, hey, honestly, I feel like any woman that lived, survived, whatever the experience of being a girlfriend and lived at the mansion, they're probably all mean girls to begin with, even
Yes.
if they seem really sweet. So it's kind of, they all are petty.
Yep. I don't get, yeah, and like I said, I
They're
don't give a
all
shit.
petty.
Be a mean girl. I honestly think that being like truly like being like an actual girl's girl is knowing that balance of when to be a bitch and when to like be like a girl's girl. You know, like you can't be amazing and sweet and bubblegum to everybody, because then you get fucking jaded and walked on, and then that it's ruined. So, and I've learned some really hard lessons with that this year. Being in a female dominated business, being porn, it's hard. It's hard,
and girls are hard to trust.
It's catty. Yeah, I just recorded an episode with my friend Stella Carter, and we were talking about just the friendship, female friendship, and being porn stars. It's hard.
I can't imagine.
We both
you also have like the competition element in there.
Exactly, and especially being like in the
all win.
Right. And that's exactly what we were talking about. So it's just funny how those kind of topics go together. But I guess not really, because I mean, Playboy and being Hugh Hefner's girlfriend, it's all sex work. It's all sex work. And it's real work.
Fair enough. On one of my notes that I didn't transfer to this notepad, I had something that I've written down, something that Zoe had said in Secrets of Playboy. Hang on one second.
Okay. Brittney is my most prepared guest I've ever, I think, had. She's like, has been working on this for a couple of weeks, and I admire her. I'm talking about your hard work on the podcast.
Well, I mean, I just have so many things and thoughts, and I would just, I don't want to forget anything, but I'm like, I can't have this many notes.
You've been working on this for like 2 weeks, and I love that. You're the most prepared person ever.
Well, I can't just show up.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. I wrote down, Zoe says when asked if she was a girlfriend or was it a job, she says it was working as a girlfriend or the image of a girlfriend.
Exactly.
But sex was 100% involved in it. Did you read her book?
No, I want to.
It wasn't exactly worth the money. It's about that many pages. It was a quick read. It was basically like she told a little bit about her childhood, some things about Hef. It was just like her throwing some fuel on the fire and how can I write bad about Holly. But it was really funny, the stuff that she wrote about Holly, and it was probably true, like anal sex with Hef, and it was.
Well, it was
juicy.
You keep hearing about the anal with Hef, but here's the thing: is my ideal Holly would lean into her true self, where she'd be like, "Yeah, I got fucked in the ass. Who cares?" You know, I want that from Holly. Be you, be your real you, Holly, because all of your older fan base, girl, will fucking support the fuck out of you. We're the ones with more money.
You can say, it happened. I like it. Or she could be like, it was. It happened and it was terrible and I hated it.
It really sucks because
it was humiliating because apparently everybody watched and you'd have to read
Sounds hot, dude. It's
juicy. It's short, but she made sure to like pack some juice in there. And I don't know, a lot of it seems embellished, but
oh my god, I have to get it now. I have to get it now. You know, for me, it's like, I'd rather see that side of somebody rather than just the bullshit. And you know what really hurts is like I see like their merch. I love those Blonde Mafia like moments that they have going on there. Bridget
I don't think I need any of it.
Well, that's the thing, is I'm not going to support it, and I want it so bad. And you know, there were times in the past where I tried to look for those shirts. I didn't realize they were ones that Bridget had made. This is back when there was still mystery in all of this, and it was special, and now it feels cheapened, and like it's just been made like a gimmick of itself, and just it became too self-aware this, that, as much as it is reality TV and it is their lives, but like, it's like, uh, it just feels like it's so somehow is more vapid now. It's just, like, it's like, yes, it was vapid, but it was like an escape.
Sure.
And it was the only, I think you had another talking point. It was the only image that we have, like, a deep look inside of what was the magic of the Playboy Mansion and the parties. Those parties, any of us would have done anything to be at those parties. Like,
For sure.
all that we see, and it just tarnishes the magic of just the sexual revolution. And for me as a sex worker, it makes it feel, it takes away the richness of the history for me, and it just makes it like girls being catty, which they are.
You just have to look past that and focus in on the parts you like.
Well, and I still watch Girls Next Door, or Girls Next Door.
Oh yeah, I put it on all the time, just background.
Yep, I love it. So
but
yeah,
I
it's
also
funny.
Side thought, I feel like the podcast, if they had not started their podcast, I feel like just in general it kind of sparked people talking about Playboy again. Obviously people that love the show, but since there's been particular guests, like Marston, or the book review with Crystal and the Beef, that's helping both of them because they're getting the attention. But I feel like you didn't really hear much, or at least in my realm, people weren't still talking about Playboy that much. So it kind of has brought it for those that are interested.
It's funny that you say that, because I've had conversations, I talked to Marston quite a bit, outside of even just the episode of the podcast that we did. And that was something that we had talked about, was just how well the nostalgia from like Y2K like helped like stoke like him being able to like have an OnlyFans, and everything that was able to kind of like benefit everybody involved. But Marston even said that he loves the Girls Next Door. He loves that show. Like, so I mean,
it's fun.
It's admired by so many different people. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And it's just so controversial in so many different ways. Let's talk about some of these magazines, shall we?
Sure.
All right.
One of the things I love so much, and Hef definitely gets the credit for this, because from the very beginning, the magazines have always been so like interactive, whether it be different textures of paper, finding the Playboy bunny on the front of the magazine. You have the centerfold. You have other like ads that fold out, but also a lot of the stories and articles have artwork that go with them that fold out or like pop out book type things. They even had an issue that I have hanging in my hallway that came with a t-shirt transfer.
Wow.
There's been different ones that had like stickers, and some of it is related to the advertisers, but it's just a very interactive, colorful magazine. Like, especially in some, not so much anything past the stapled issues, and maybe early 80s and before, they were super interactive as far as the textured paper folding out for stories and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that.
I have the last stapled issue. I have the Madonna one.
I have that one.
Yeah, I love that one. So you had sent me a box here of different magazines.
Yes.
Do you have any here that you wanted to like reference at all, and that you'd like me to check out?
They're sitting right beside me. Oh, are you talking about the ones that
any of these?
I was saying, because I also have a stack sitting right here.
Yes, let's do yours.
No, let's do yours first.
Okay, all right. So first I have this one right here.
So cool, right?
Yes, I'm going to be putting, for my audio listeners, I'm going to probably upload this one before a lot of other episodes onto my YouTube also, so that you can visually like check out. But we're going to try to be as spoken about what we're looking at as we can too. So we've got
I agree, because this is a very visual thing. But
this is a March 1973 issue of Playboy.
And she starts off dressed, and by the end, she's undressed. So it's individual. How would you describe it? It's individual photos of a girl.
Yes, it's like a striptease photo reel essentially on the cover, and it's very 70s. It's very velour green dress with the big sleeves, and she's stripping down to the like lacy but still kind of modest underwear look of lingerie back then with the garter belt and stuff. But it's very cute, very mod.
I love it.
Yes. So this is a stapled issue. So tell us about the stapled issues and when they switched. And do you know like a reason, or like was that like a big thing?
I don't know the reason. I would assume a change like that had to do with cost.
Probably, or maybe durability.
I don't know if you remember, like Rolling Stone used to be a larger magazine. And then to save cost, they eventually, because I used to have a subscription to Rolling Stone as well, they went to standard size. I would assume it's a money thing, because they also get much thinner after that. So it might even go down to like a shipping thing, because it's not as thick. It's the binding. I don't know I don't know the for sure answer on that.
Well, these are huge. The ones that are the older, and then it feels like they're about twice as big as your standard Playboy of what I'm used to seeing, which are the newer issues.
Oh yeah, so. Whenever I make a box, because I do sell a lot of magazines, I could get a lot more of the newer ones in a box than I can the older ones, because they're so thick and heavy.
Yes. So for me, I think that what I really like, what first, like as far as like being like a consumer of the magazines, of somebody that's buying them, yep, that's the last stapled issue, which is Madonna's cover, and it's a very like the pictures are pre-blonde Madonna, so I'm guessing that they were purchased in
is this the issue? Because Playboy purchased, and I don't have my facts straight on this, but they purchased much like Marilyn Monroe purchased photos.
I was just gonna say, much like our friend.
But Marilyn I didn't know Monroe. Since she was on the cover.
No,
but I would have felt like in '85, wouldn't she have agreed to this?
Yes, and well, I'm not quite sure, because in the I haven't read the article with I've just kind of thumbed through it, but they're all brunette Madonna pictures. She's got the full kind of body hair, the brunette Madonna that was like modeling and all of that. It was during that time the pictures were. So she's just not blonde. So interesting stuff there. But yeah, so for me, what I really love about Playboy is, as somebody that loves books and reading and just journalism in general, and just the aspect of like the cutting edge journalism and going where other people don't go. This is where so many like huge iconic writers were doing articles. Like you have Hunter S. Thompson was in Playboy, and Ralph Steadman, even, speaking of Hunter S. Thompson, Ralph Steadman did a lot of art for Playboy. You've got the Femlin, you've got, that whole entire, I obviously love the Femlin, and I did a cosplay. Did you see what I did?
I did. That's why I sent you that.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
I sent you the 67 magazine.
Yes, and yes, Brittney did send me the Femlin like cover magazine, and it's like I'm going to frame that.
Oh, I forget where opposite. Wait.
Yes, right there. Yes, I love.
But she was on the cover many, many times.
Yes, so I really, really love the artistic nature, the literature, the art, it was the only place where you could really get that like avant-garde kind of like art, and the comedy, the sexual humor behind like the comics, and it just is very refined, I think, is what
It's a well-rounded lifestyle magazine, and it's what he wanted it to be. You know, it had jokes and advice and literature, beautiful women. Oh, fun story. Excuse me. Probably somewhere 2005 to 2007. My friend and I submitted a joke to Playboy online. He went on the website, and so we didn't get picked, but my joke was, why do blondes have bruises on their belly button?
Why?
Because her boyfriend was blonde too.
Oh my God.
That's literally like the only joke I know, but we submitted it and they didn't pick it, which I don't know why, because a lot of the jokes they do have in there are awful, but some are great. So,
Yeah, they would have I would think that they'd love that joke.
I think it's great.
Yes. So I love do you have any articles that are maybe one that you've run into along your years that's really stuck out to you, or something that just is absurd, or to talk about?
Just in general, I will say that some of the articles in the magazines, and it's mostly the older ones, like 60s, 70s, and they're just appalling as a woman, because the articles are about what women want or how to get a woman, and it's like, no, that's way off and so offensive. and then I see how those articles create or fuel misogyny and the way that men thought that women wanted to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing. Well, I am saying that there's something wrong with it. I still love the magazine, but some of it was just mind blowing, because that's not how women want to be treated, but that is what Playboy is telling men.
That's really interesting. So the misogyny, and we had kind of talked about it conversationally before, the misogyny that goes alongside with feminism is, I think that through like feminists being able to have more power, and women, I guess women as a whole, not even just feminists, but women gaining power, was through things like misogyny being readily available in a way for us to like see, like, wait a second, these are the things that are being given. It's like it takes misogyny to have that like ultimate like realization of like that things are fucked up like that,
For
and
sure.
so it's like Playboy not only signifies like the uprising but the tearing down of women, and so it's like
For
so
sure.
confusing. I don't believe that there's a right or a wrong answer in all of this, for the fact that just history never is perfect. There's never such thing as perfect history.
No, not at
And,
all.
and, it's hard. But I'm interested. I want to like thumb through and read more of these old articles for sure.
Yeah, I think it's very complex. Like, Hef's message was women like sex too. I was like, heck yeah, we do. Even though that was directed to let men know that the girl next door likes to shag too.
Mm-hmm.
We do. Maybe not in the way the article's telling you, but also he empowered women in such ways, like with the Playboy Club. Like, if you were not at that time, and if you could be a teacher or a secretary or work at a department store, and being able to be a Playboy bunny really did open up a lot of opportunities for women to make serious money where they could support themselves. They did have to run around in uncomfortable heels, but I do take those girls seriously, because that bunny training is serious stuff. It was a very high caliber service. You should read Pat Lacey's book. She really talks about it.
That's funny that you said that because I saw on my thrift books wish list today that book came up as available, and I was like, I should just buy it. But yeah, the Playboy bunnies, and the thing is there was that episode. Was it last week or this past couple of weeks? I don't think maybe I did listen to both, but the episodes of the Girls Next Level where they were talking about the bunny tryouts. And it's funny because a big talking point that has been between my partner Steven and I as I was watching the episodes of the Girls Next Door was this episode in particular with the bunny tryouts, and how Steven, being an onlooker that's not completely like enveloped in the world and doesn't understand everything going on all the time with the show, but has consumed it in passing. He has always commented that is an episode that's very telling of Holly. The fact that she did wear that bunny costume in the venue that she was told to not, and she went ahead and wore it, and he always felt that was very disrespectful, and it was like almost like stolen valor in a lot of ways. And it was interesting because this was before the podcast.
Well, but didn't they already have bunny costumes fitted that they wore to do
Yes,
the tours?
but
So
this
she was
was in
given permission.
But this was in the context of the Playboy clubs. And these women were trying out to be in the Playboy clubs. And it almost felt like almost an intimidation, or like, yeah, I am already, and you need to be performing for me as. And she wasn't a bunny in the club. And it's like, yes, you get to wear these two events, but she's not getting to just wear them for just anything. They get brought out. They have special fittings before they, you know what I'm saying? So Absolutely. He told her, and so it was funny because that's literally been a talking point before in like my real life as like somebody that's watching this show as a fan of it. And so I just always thought it was interesting. I didn't like how she spun that instead of being like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have worn the bunny outfit. But I didn't like those past episodes. I thought it's like I listen because I love to listen, but it's so hard to talk about it because then people like act like you have to like allow it because then maybe you're being like anti-woman if you don't agree with everything.
No, not at all. Yeah. I listen. I don't love everything they say. Yes, I'll roll my eyes at some stuff, and sometimes I'm like, I love it.
Have you talked to Holly, my little Playboy bestie, Holly LA? Have you guys had any? You and her would get along super well. You two could. We'll have to have.
I don't interact a whole lot on things that aren't positive. Not saying not ever, but like if I have some random thought about today's podcast, I'm probably not going to put it on the Facebook page for a bunch of people that I don't know. I've got a couple people that I can talk to about it without it being on there, because people get really hateful or just like dumb, and that's not my jam. So.
Yeah, I don't understand that. It's like the beauty between people being people was always the fact that people could have like a difference of opinion and things like that. So it's hard because it's like the purpose of a discussion is to discuss. Hold on 1 second. Yes.
Your grill's working.
Okay, cool.
What?
Anyway, see, this is why everybody's like, I used to do a live podcast every week, and I've had to fall off of it in the past 6 months because of stuff. It's so hard to podcast when I'm not living in my own apartment anymore.
That's understandable.
Yeah, it simplified my life. I'm a lot happier and fulfilled living with my family and us all being.
That's the most important.
Yeah, it makes me happy, and I'm able to invest in my businesses and have a happy life. So, he left my door wide open though, and I'm
of course.
So, Anyway,
I
so,
really think it's important. So I really like, I mean, there's other groups that I'm in, but those are the two that people post in the most. And I like to expose myself to other people's thoughts and opinions, but I can just as easily read the post and everyone else's comments and get the opposing information and process it for myself without arguing or being ugly with strangers on Facebook.
Right. Yeah. I think sometimes for me, like I can get super pissed off, and I have lashed on a few people on
Reel it in.
I have to.
It's not that serious.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's like, and I think that's what because it's like it's so ridiculous that then it just pisses me off that people are being that ridiculous, and so it's hard. But I think that passion is good. So it's good to have stuff to be passionate about, and I'm passionate about being pro Playboy and everything that even the horrible, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because that's what makes things. It makes things that are memorable. Yeah, I take the bad with the good. Can you shut my door until I finish this, please? Aiden left it wide open. But yeah, he, it's just there's no such thing as perfect, and art isn't perfect. Art is very imperfect, and from an artist standpoint, Playboy is everything that I love about art. I love doing photography and modeling in photography, and also being the person that's capturing this. And I love videography. That's more where my passion is making movies and things like that. But it's just beautiful, and it's so wonderful the people that you get to meet along the way. I get to be friends with people like you, Brittney, and learn from you, and get these amazing packages with Playboys. You guys, she sent me the
Hey, I'm gonna go take a bathroom break really quick. Show your magazines.
Yes, I will do that. I'm gonna pull you off.
I'll be right back.
All right. So Brittney sent me the Ukrainian Crystal Hefner issue. So I've got this. It's pretty cool. You can't really see it, but I thought that was pretty cool. A lot of you little Y2K junkies over here. She sent me a bunch of really cool stuff. So there's a December 1975. Like, it's so thick. So thick. But yeah, so I really just I understand how Playboy is such a crazy topic, and I don't think it'll ever stop being a crazy topic. And I think because there has to be so much speculation, because it was all like really behind closed doors, and a lot of things that we never saw, except for on the Girls Next Door. And that's why I think there's such like a deep connection with the people that were on that show. So anyway, I'll take this moment to talk about my current favorite lifestyle magazine, ASN. I'm sure you've heard me talk about ASN Lifestyle Magazine a few times if you've been listening. I am a proud affiliate of theirs, and I wanted to let you guys know about the beautiful business card to little picture screen size advertisement that you can have on their digital publication. It's only $75 a month with a 12-month contract if you're interested in advertising in ASN Lifestyle Magazine. And lifestyle covers anything that's a little beyond the ordinary and a little extraordinary. If you are interested in selling photography spots, if you are a traveling masseuse and you want to tell people about your travel schedule, you can put whatever you're wanting into this advertisement. It is a lifestyle magazine. So if you are somebody that has a word to spread about something, services, maybe an event, anything, reach out to me, and I will certainly put you in touch, or just reach out to ASM Lifestyle Magazine. They are on all platforms. Fabulous magazine, and be on the lookout because I've got some articles coming out. So shout out to ASN. They could be the next Playboy. You never know. So I'm going to bring Brittney back.
All right, let's talk magazines.
Yes. So
You showed the Ukrainian.
Yes, you have your stack. Let's talk about the ones that you have some interesting stuff to talk about on.
So this September 2006 cover
Yes, I have.
Yes, but this one is still in the newsstand plastic.
Oh.
I'm glad I didn't sell it. I almost
Yeah.
did. And I said, no, that's the issue that I need to keep for myself because it's cool.
Yeah, I have all of the Girls Next Door ones. I have Bridget, not the other two with their solo covers, because Bridget was always my favorite. And then I also the noted that one that you just showed. I was always so confused in the show why Holly's tattoo was different on the cover, and then I was she finally answered it in a Q&A, like at the beginning of something. I think I had asked her, maybe it was like that little Valentine's Day date they did before they started like their Patreon. I don't remember if you remember that.
I do. I forget what it was.
I went to, it was like a live event. But anyways, it was because it was that Volkswagen issue. And so, so I was like, why'd they cover up the Playboy bunny on her back? So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I also have that cover. It hasn't arrived yet, but I ordered a Colombian issue of that one. And I also have here, I'll grab this one really quick. I actually didn't have it in the stack because it's on this. It's in my giant stack of magazines, like the ones behind me, to be hung.
Oh, awesome.
It's the Ukrainian.
Yes, the
of their first
issue.
one. But see, this one actually came out in 2006. And
Oh, wow.
I forget what year the Colombian version of the September 2006 is, but it's a couple of years later.
That's interesting.
And I'm really finding that most of the foreign magazines that use the cover picture and the pictorials from US issues don't come out in the same year most of the time. I told you, I found one the other day that actually came out the same month and year, but now I can't remember which one it was. But they are used several years later in foreign issues.
Do you think it's because the foreign issues come out later, so they just recycle previous issues for costs?
Or maybe it took that long for Girls Next Door. It suddenly was popular in that country, or I don't know. And I'm finding it really hard to find the information that I'm looking for on the foreign issues, because the only place I really know is to look is Google. And it's really hard to find specific answers to questions like that. But I did, a girl that's, she's a Facebook friend. She's really active in the groups and shares almost daily Hef's Corner, all kinds of great information. She's an enthusiast.
Julie Clow or Clow?
No, it's someone else.
Okay.
But, well, it's Lee Travis. I hope she doesn't mind me saying her name, but she posts almost daily, like all sorts of wonderful, positive, just Playboy in general information. She's a huge Playboy fan across the board.
Mm-hmm.
She told me about on the Patreon, because I had asked her if she knew anything about the foreign issues, because I wanted to know how many other Girls Next Door covers were used in foreign issues, because I can't find the answer to it. Well, she told me that they opened up a Q&A on Patreon. So I dropped that question in all three. So hopefully Holly, being the Playboy buzz she is, maybe that question will get picked up, because I would love to know if they know how many issues their pictorials were used on.
Yeah, that is a really interesting. I hope she answers that. And I'm also
and she also suggested that I drop it multiple times, because it was like a crazy amount of questions and stuff. So I've kind of like once a day the last 3 days reposted the same question.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth a shot.
Yeah, pretty smart. They'll see she's got intention with these postings. She wants the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, another. Do you have another?
So this is the 2010 Kendra, but it is I'm guessing it's a newsstand copy because I don't see where it would have been shipped to someone's home, but it's still wrapped in the plastic, but it comes in this folder.
I love that.
Well, it's more like an envelope, but on the back, it's buy this issue, look for the ticket inside. It's kind of like a Willy Wonka situation. And if you get the magazine with the ticket in it, you get a trip to the Playboy Mansion.
What? I wish I would have won that.
You and me both. Guess what? There's no ticket in here.
Well, what the hell? Yeah, I have that issue also.
This one is December 1983, Joan Collins. Everybody, knows her from Dynasty, or maybe they don't. But what I think is cool about this, I'm struggling with my camera. Can you see that it says Playboy key holder redemption copy? I haven't found a lot of information about this, but I'm guessing maybe it came from a Playboy club. Maybe they had them out for key holders or something. I have tried to Google it, but nothing.
So it was like a reprint of one that was just exclusive to club members,
or maybe they just laid them out at the clubs and put a sticker on them to make people feel special. I don't know. It just says Playboy key holder redemption copy. So I hung on to it. I'm not a huge fan of the cover. I mean, it's fine, but it seems cool.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I love.
Another one that I still have that's in the original plastic is Ashley Harkleroad from 2008. She was a tennis player, and she actually talks about her experience posing for the magazine on Secrets of Playboy, the second season, which to me was much more interesting because it was women's. It wasn't like a Playboy Hugh Hefner bashing. It was just really these women's experiences and how the public reacted to them. And same with her. And then I don't think I have it in my stack, but there was a NYPD police officer who posed for Playboy, and she actually got fired from the department for it. Watch the second season. It's much more interesting.
Okay.
I do like this one, but I think I probably only like this one because Holly redid the dress, and I thought it was fabulous. Yeah. This is the June 1979 with the Playboy dress. That's silver. Okay.
I didn't know Holly redid that dress.
Yeah, it's in an episode. I think it's one of the later episodes, but she wore it for, I can't remember, but yes, she had it redone. I have Burt Reynolds, October 1979.
Oh, I love that. He looks adorable.
I know.
With them little rabbit ears.
I also have the Playboy Mexico Lindsay Lohan issue.
I have the American Lindsay Lohan issue. That is my favorite issue of it's my favorite. Did she do a centerfold?
She looks beautiful, and I love all the red. It's very Maryland.
It's my favorite out of any of them.
But I don't have the U.S. issue, so I can't compare. But the centerfold and the fold out in this one is really cool. She's not a centerfold, but it has a fold out pictorial, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I always have really liked that one a lot.
I have Winter 2020. This was one of the last issues.
It makes me it's sad.
Wrapped in plastic, and I really want to open it and read it. I haven't decided if I'm opening it or leaving it. It doesn't have that. Yes, it's Winter 2020. And the last issue of Playboy was Spring 2020.
Who was on the cover of it?
No one specific. It's kind of like almost looks like Hollywood squares with the different squares, and it's like legs. I believe. Don't quote me on being perfect or remembering everything exactly, but it's a cool cover. I've got my eye on it. It's just kind of expensive. Yeah, I need to sell some more of my collection that I purged because I was like, I really don't need all these magazines, but I want to focus on foreign issues and just covers that I really love. So the floor in front of me is just stacks and stacks of Playboys that I need to sell to support my habit.
Have you been?
But I also really love sharing them.
Oh yeah, you put me in. You told me about those groups, and you know they're savage in those groups. They're fucking mean to people. Oh my god,
I think it's awful.
they're like, "Are you fucking stupid? Those magazines are worthless. You pile of shit. I'll give you $5." Like they're so mean.
A lot of issues are only worth $5.
I
to
know.
be honest.
No, but they're like, they'll say that when somebody's like, I've got these rare issues, and you know, they're just, they don't know any better, and just it's every day, and the people in the group are just like, go fuck yourself.
Well, I never intended to get into selling. It was like whenever the podcast started and the group started, that's what really made me pull out all my magazines and start looking at them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have all the DVDs. I've already watched them. Maybe somebody else wants them. So I kind of like started posting them because people were wanting the DVDs for the commentary and stuff. And then I sold some of my other stuff. And then I was like, oh my God, I want this magazine and this. I want all these. And then I was like, wait, this is too much. Or people would want specific issues. So it's just really fun. It's a hobby. And I've always loved nothing more than like making a package and putting it in the mail, going to the post office and it's somewhat a package. So it kind of incorporates getting to shop and add to my collection, but also it really is wonderful to share them with other people. I can't tell you how many girls I mailed a magazine to before, and they were so excited because it was their first Playboy. And I was like, I love that I'm the one that gets to send that to you.
And that's, for me, like half of the love for Playboy is the women, in its feminism and its sisterhood of like, we're the ones that are distributing this magazine now.
Yes.
This is women.
And so I post them for sale. And I like to think that even if you're not interested in buying it, you enjoy scrolling through and looking at the pictures because it might be an issue that you've never seen before. Because like we talked about, I didn't know that there were so many young Girls Next Door fans that really weren't that familiar or that big of a fan of the Playboy brand in general. So it's kind of cool to share that with everyone.
Yeah, it's awesome. You're doing the Lord's work.
Okay, so 3 more. I'll interrupt with this book that I've had for probably since the early 2000s. You can't really see it, but it's Playboy Helmut Newton. He was actually didn't just do. He was an art photographer. I actually learned a lot about him in college, but he did a lot of work for Playboy too. And I've actually looked at these on eBay and they go for a lot. So I'm like, oh yeah,
you better
this one.
That. Yeah.
I really love the March 1999 Kiss.
Have
you ever seen it?
No.
Kiss is in the pictorials.
I love that.
They pose.
Oh my goodness.
They pose.
That's crazy.
I know. And it falls out. Right.
That's awesome.
I love it. It's so fun. And I saved the most interesting one for last. And I didn't even know that this issue existed until a few months ago. I just bought this random huge lot of magazines and I was going through them. And it's Lisa Rinna. And this was her first, because she did another cover as well a little bit later. But I'm flipping through it and she's pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, wait, why does no one talk about this? I never knew that someone posed pregnant in Playboy. Like, I kind of feel like that's a big deal.
And it's Lisa Rinna?
Yeah.
Isn't she like a Real Housewife or something? Or...
She was, yes.
Yes.
She was she did soaps before that, I think.
Okay.
But I mean, it's a beautiful pictorial, but I don't know. I kind of feel like that's a big deal. I have seen foreign issues that are probably a little bit later, like 2014, and they actually have nude pregnant women on the cover, but in other countries, things are different.
Yes, it's so interesting. Yeah, and that's just goes back. These are the things
Why
that
does
I
no
love
one
about
talk about
Playboy.
this? I mean,
I
it's a
don't
big deal,
know.
right?
Yes, it is.
That doesn't seem very Hugh Hefner. I can't see him agreeing to this.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't know. I just feel like this should be a famous one, a famous
right.
issue.
Right, exactly. And it's just groundbreaking for just women's representation also as like, yeah, we get pregnant, but we're still like sexy. Yeah, it's big. It's very, very big. So, you
And
know.
I could go on forever, but that concludes my small stack. Oh, wait, I did add a couple. Hang on.
Hold on.
I love this cover. It is July 1977. It's got the giant blue, almost looks like a raft bunny. It's also Sandra Theodore's Playmate of the Month. She's the centerfold in this one, but I think it's a really fun cover. I like bright, colorful. And then, of course, a couple of Anna Nicole's because she's gorgeous.
Yeah. I have all of the Anna Nicole's except for the one in the green. Is it the Derby? Her first one, I think it's
the March 1992.
Yeah, I think that's the first one, and that's the only one that I don't have. So it's funny. I wonder if I bought magazines off of you, like before.
No,
before
I would remember because I really only sell on Facebook. eBay.
Okay, so I didn't know if you were in.
I've tried eBay,
before.
but it's like if it's a $5 magazine and then eBay and PayPal take their cut, it's just way more fun to interact on Facebook and sell them that way.
Yeah, definitely. And I was buying because, like I said, I got into this a little bit before everybody with the resurgence of everything. So, I was buying all my magazines off of eBay because none of these groups existed yet. So,
well, I really enjoy it, and it helps support my habit, especially now that I've got probably 75 magazines sitting on my floor that I've decided to purge, so that way I can focus on collecting some foreign issues and other specific.
My best advice
50s. I'm really going for the 50s because they are so artistic and beautiful.
You know what you need to do? You need to break them down by birth, month, and year and sell them as people's birthday issues and frame them and sell it as like by your birthday.
It's so funny that you said that. And that is not a bad idea. But I actually have my April 1984 issue. But over the last several years, I've given people their issue for their birthday.
I love that. I love it.
I have several friends that I knew would appreciate it, and I gave them their birth month and year issue.
It's cute. People really like that. Well, do you have anything else that you were wanting to touch on before we wrap it up today? We could always have you come back too if you have a bunch of
one. It's very disappointing. No one has once ever said, I've never ever heard anyone say that Hugh Hefner was good in bed, and I find that disappointing.
Well, and I've actually had that same thought. It's like, do you think that they just like, because it was just like so spread among a bunch of different people, like, or like, you know, maybe he was, but like he didn't have monogamous sex very often?
I've even read books from girls that hung around the mansion in like the 70s, and nobody has, I just have never heard anybody say that. And maybe he was good back in the day, or maybe he just didn't have to be.
Well, did anybody say he's bad either, though? Because I've never just read any.
No one's described it as an enjoyable. Yeah, well, I just have never heard anybody say it was fun or they enjoyed it. I mean, most of what we hear is, you know, after he was at least 70. Yeah. So, I mean, he was older, but it was just a random thought.
Yeah,
I
that's a
want
good one.
we want to hear that Mr. Playboy is as good as bed as good in bed as you would think he would be.
Maybe because he said that he was a virgin until he was like 24 or something. I remember in like an episode he had mentioned that. And I think that maybe he just went from like being like a virgin to like being Mr. Playboy really in like a short amount of time, and he just never had to like develop like any type of skills. Like you said, he
You
just
never
didn't
had to be
do it.
good at it because there was always someone
They
in
were just doing
line.
it for him.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like he just like, they were doing all the work. He wasn't doing
Right.
anything.
That's
I mean,
so
if
I
you
think
don't
that's
have,
it.
if you just ejaculate and have to do nothing for it, I mean, I guess I can't really blame the guy.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It's so funny. Well, it was really nice to have you, Brittney. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna pull you off. You can't hang up quite yet. I gotta upload with you for a minute, so I'll bring you back on after I'm done recording.
No worries. I've
All
enjoyed
right,
this.
see you in a sec. So thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Bimbo Box. There will be a visual to this audio very soon. I'll put it over on my YouTube. If you guys have any more questions or comments about this, feel free to reach out to us. I think that on all of my platforms now, you can text us. So text me if you have any questions for Brittney, if you guys want to have her back for a more detailed or we could do like an AMA. She's got a lot of information, and I know we just only scratched the surface. So thank you for listening to this episode. I fucking love you, bimbos. And hey, if my mental health allows me, we'll keep the episodes coming. Oh, and I've got a special treat coming from you guys. I'm gonna review a little show called Daisy of Love with one of my straight male friends. And we're going to hear what he thinks about Miss Daisy De La Hoya, the ex-girlfriend of Bret Michaels, and her adventures trying to find love on the VH1 Classic. So that's going to be fucking hilarious. I will talk to you little bimbos and himbos soon. Bye.